ARGYI. So, when I grew up in a very evangelical, intense, upper middle class white Christian experience. Crazy, I know. But my Sunday school teacher, the time I loved her so much, she's my favorite Sunday school teacher. Sometimes she would hold her Bible and open it and put it up to her ear and be like, this is God speaking to you. Like, this is God speaking to you. How do you love someone without knowing them? You know, in order to love someone, you need to know them. And so read your Bible. Listen to God speaking to you. This is His word. And so I would try to read my Bible as one does. And I think it's so confusing, though, growing up in this type of community. And when you actually read the Bible, you see that God is not just, I don't know, fairies and fucking rainbows. Like, we look at Old Testament God, we look at New Testament God, there's some big feelings there. And it's like, God is vengeful, God is jealous, God is angry sometimes, God is intense. Like, fucking Noah's Ark, flooding the entire world, come on. And I think, if I'm speaking, you know, because a lot of people be like, New Testament God is all about love and acceptance. And so there's a lot of, you know, liberal Christians and folks who are able to relate to Christianity in a way that's positive for them and their spirituality. And again, no disrespect to anyone. I think that religion is one of the many coping mechanisms we use to survive and thrive at times in this world. And sometimes just survive and cope. And so if that's your, you know, if that's your jam, that's your jam. But I think that for me, there is this sense that if I actually let myself know who God was based on the Bible and fully integrate that and understand that, and also, more importantly, know who I was and who I want to be, my values, that's not the God I want. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the God I want to believe in. That's not the God I want to pray to. But I'm brought back to her words that to love someone, you need to know them. You need to really know them. You need to really listen. And that's so interesting to me because I think so much of my experience with Christianity was being unknown, of having to suppress myself, that to be known fully was to be actively rejected, to be actively harmed, to be actively, you know, like unloved and uncared for. But I think what this connects to is I moved to a new place recently, and at first it was so hard. It was so cold, it was so confusing, everything was different, and it was really scary, but I wanted to get to know this place because I wanted to love this place, because life is too short to live in places you don't love, you know? Like, I don't want to just sit in my little box on my little box phone and hide away and comfort and not really connect to the world and connect to people and connect to the places I'm in. And so I got to know it. I tried to go to events. I observed. I sat. I listened and did all these random things. I became a musician accidentally. Became a stand-up comedian. Like, I don't even know what's happened. Um, but then summer came, and I started going to this park. I started finding my flow. I started riding my bike to the farmer's market. Like, what is this? Like, what type of life am I living? I became a farmer, low-key. Like, just low-key. I started taking photos. Just, I love the way that the light looks on leaves and light looks on water. I saw ducks and a turtle and deer, and I learned what attraction was. I met people. I let people go. I went back home and then came back. I listened to the sound of the motorbikes and the cars and the the grasshoppers and the cicadas, and I realized I fell in love. Like, I was just sitting on my porch this morning, which is such a blessing in and of itself, eating fruit. I love eating fruit. And I was just looking out at the street, and I remember coming here my first time, and I was like, it felt so empty, felt so overwhelming. But then sitting here looking out, just listening to, like, if you close your eyes, sometimes cars sound like ocean. They sound like, I don't know, this soundtrack to life. That when I went back home to the suburbs, it was so quiet, and I was like, how did I grow up in such silence? It's so fascinating how much your environment affects how you live, how you feel. But I think what I've understood from beginning to love this place, from really getting to know this place, to getting to know the people here, getting to know what they love, what they fear, their dreams, their wishes, their hopes. People here have so many dreams. And at first I was overwhelmed because I'm used to, Southern kind of that fake happiness that's really comfortable at times. You don't have to show much of yourself, but people here, start talking to them 1, 2, 3 minutes, and suddenly they're telling me about their dreams, about how they want to be a musician or an artist, or they're going back to school, whatever. And it just struck me, like, I don't know, there's such a artistry here, such a, I think, profound ungrounding, but also deep grounding in these different ways, and just the ways that different people learn to cope, survive, and thrive, and how we show up for each other, but also fail to show up for each other. It just fascinates me. But as I've been falling in love with this place, especially this park, there's been months where I just go there every day. I love going to this park. I love riding my bike down the hill. I love looking at the water. I love looking at... I saw swans for the first time here. And I saw the swans, and I saw the swans with the baby swans. The little gray, fluffy baby swans. And then suddenly the story of the ugly duckling made so much sense to me. I was like, oh... Which I'm not saying they're ugly, and even if I was, so what? Like, why are we so anti-ugly? But, like, wow, it's so crazy that, like, I've never seen a swan in real life before this. Do you know what I mean? Or just, like, I saw this huge turtle, and I got real close, probably too close. I probably should have. And you see leeches on its back, and you see its claws, and my head turtles are these kind of cute, upbeat animals. I don't know, I think it's the cartoons. They have really good propaganda, and the turtle, he just looks so elderly, like so wrinkled and kind of withered and old and wise, and I don't even know how to describe it. Just there's so much character in the wrinkles on his body, and I think I hope I get to a day when I get to have that many wrinkles, Like, I was looking at my toes, and I've noticed they're starting to look misshapen. Like, I remember my grandma's toes would be really, like, triangular and flat, if you know what I mean. It's just, you spend a lot of years walking, You've gone to walk a lot of places, a lot of miles, and so your toes, they take that shape. And I remember as a child, I was scared. I was like, I don't want my toes to look ugly. I don't want my toes to look weird. And so looking at my toes now, I was like, should I do something so they don't look so weird? Which, maybe I need new shoes, I don't really know. But then I was like, isn't it so beautiful to, like, have had the opportunity to walk to so many different places, when I first moved here, I was like, I wish I had a car. Cars are so comfortable. You get to listen to music. There are memories made in cars. I don't know, I spent a lot of my childhood in a car, and so I just missed that familiarity. But I walked a lot. I walked through the cold. I walked through the heat. I walked a lot here. I took the bus some. And although cars are very comfortable, and I think I did have some car moments that brought my heart a little joy at the time, there's something about knowing a place by foot, you know? There's something about knowing a place by foot, knowing how it feels, knowing time and space in that way, and learning to enjoy the walk, which I think people often don't enjoy walks, and that's valid. People, want to get to where they're going, and then I think if you grow up in a really busy city, it's like if you take time to be present in every moment, you're gonna go insane because there's too much going on all the time. Like you can't healthily be present 24/7 if you live in like New York City. Like I just think that the way our society is built, a certain level of numbing is necessary to survive. Um, yeah, like is Matsu Gwendolyn, I think. I was just reading an essay from them about how um just like to do radical things in society you kind of have to be mad, and how this is, how it when you start questioning the systems, you do kind of leave the realm of sanity because sanity kind of upholds these systems. A lot of big thoughts. I think the writing is great, but then I know for people who maybe aren't as into theory and stuff or just haven't thought about this in their own life in that way, it might be too dense for them. But I'll link that below. But I think, I'm not. I think for me at least, I don't want to be insane all the time. I don't. But there is something maddening about our world, to be really present in it, to be able to be really present in the joys and the griefs and the pains and all the little in betweens. It is something that is mad making. But I think what I've learned from learning to love this place that I didn't grow up in, to love this place that I had to really learn and understand because it just felt counter to a lot of ways I'd been raised and ways I understood the world, implicitly. And when you really learn from nature, which is crazy that like you could spend your whole life as an environmentalist, or quote unquote fighting for the environment, but spend 80% of your time inside on a screen. Like, we are meant to be outside. We're not meant to be inside. We're meant to be outside. We're meant to be learning from nature. We're meant to be learning from elders and learning from the animals and the creatures and watching. And, I've learned this is what love is. Love is not just loving in a moment. Love is not always that giddy, high, positive feeling, but love is loving someone through the seasons, Noticing. Love is noticing. Love is knowing. Love is being present. Love is giving your attention to someone, giving your care to someone, being in community with a place, a person, a space. Love is being present through all the changes and then knowing that there are seasons and cycles, I think with, again, the way that their society is structured on a, 24-hour, a day by day, structuring, it's like this society is not structured based around the menstrual cycle, based around the wisdom of the menstrual cycle. So many folks are on birth control, and being on birth control is necessary often to survive in this world. But when you slow down and you have the capacity to live with your cycle, to live fully in the cycle of the seasons, if you're more connected to the growth of your food and farming cycles, and you understand these fluxes and flows, it's not about some linear development. It's not even about development, which I think often hidden in the word development is destruction. What are we developing and why? And why does it always have to grow? Why do we want numbers on a screen to grow, but are we growing? Is there space for us to grow? Are we fed? Are we in community with others, or are we seeing ourselves as lone boats at sea, not realizing that we're all in this ocean together, not realizing that we're all on this planet together, all in this world together, but that, again, in order to survive, oftentimes we separate ourselves. We have to, it's like, I don't know, I think even just the therapy language of boundaries, and oftentimes our misunderstandings of what boundaries are, and kind of this idea of walls, instead of how do we have bonds between one another, between the environment, between plants and the sun and the rain and the people and the animals, that feels so abundant. How can we lean into abundance and care and radical honesty? How can we love ourselves through the seasons of our life? How can we love ourselves through climate change? How can we love ourselves through winter? And winter is really hard for me, but I think, how do I learn to love myself through winter? How do I learn to love a place through winter? How do I embody the knowledge that there are periods of rest and periods of growth and periods of abundant green and periods where the green starts to fall away? I was on my bike going to the park the other day, and I noticed for the first time leaves on the ground, orange leaves. I noticed that the trees were starting to turn, and I didn't feel sad. Sometimes I feel sad. Transitions are hard for me, and I love summer, but I realize I've loved summer. I've been so present in summer. I've had the honor to see this place through all these little changes you see every single day. You see new things every day. You can go to the same place every day and see something new, and I think that's so beautiful. Again, I think that's what love is. Witnessing and being present. And so witnessing, being present, and not trying to harm or exploit, but just appreciating and enjoying. But I thought, wow, summer is moving into fall. Summer is moving into fall, and then fall will move into winter. But there's this warmth in my chest, and there is this feeling that maybe this time I can embrace that more gracefully, because I've summered. I've summered really hard. I've summered really raw and really vulnerably, and just, I don't know, it's like eating with your hands and digging your teeth into a fresh mango and letting the juice just dribble down your chin and tasting the sweetness of it, sucking pulp off of seed. You eat enough mangoes and winter comes around and you don't really need a mango. You can wait. You can eat soup, you can drink tea, you can slow down, be inside, find loved ones to be with, sit and love yourself, maybe even be a little reflective. You can be a little sad, you can cry, you can feel those feelings, you can create art, you can do these things. During the summer, sometimes I would be inside a building and I would be like, why am I here? I should be outside. I don't want to be in this building. I don't understand. Why am I in this building? What's the point? But then during winter, being inside, that's beautiful. That's important too. And it gives you this space and different mentality to interact with your inner world and your world differently. And so I think a lot of times, again, these work cycles that we put us on, these treadmills that we're on, these these day, keep going. Like, it's not how the world works. Like, it's not how the world works. It's not how the natural world works. It's not how we're meant to function. Like, it doesn't make sense. You know, for our bodies, it doesn't make sense for our minds, it doesn't make sense for our hearts, for our souls. And so, I'm nervous at times about winter and fall. Mainly winter. I think fall, I can get behind fall. I can get behind fall. I can do a little sweater, but like once they start expecting me to wear these big ass coats, like, oh, it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. It's uncomfortable. But I'm interested in what I can learn now that I love this place. I've seen it through different seasons. I don't know. I wanna learn how to love winter. I'm not sure how. Sometimes I meet people and they love winter, and I ask them, like, how do you love winter? And their answers have been unsatisfying to this point. But I think maybe that's the thing, is they just do. You know? They know it and they love it, and I think that's beautiful, and maybe I can get to know it in a different way and learn to love it. And so, yeah. What have you been loving lately? Let me know. Peace, love, take it easy.